Oh, welcome back to On Texas Football. Welcome back to our Friday live stream. Yeah, see, Jerry's got the right idea. The future's so bright, the man needs to wear shades. I'm sure that means something too. Jerry's got to
I
see.
wear the gooders for every live show that Texas is ranked number one. So
Oh, I like that.
I've got a few lives left, and if they handle business at Ohio State, I'm going to be wearing these for a couple months straight.
You know what? I like that. See, I like the way Jerry's thinking. Optimistic too, and the shades are cool. All right, he is the estimable Jerry Hamilton. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Also joining us is my good friend and esteemed colleague, the one and only Jeff Howes, joining us. And thank you guys for joining us wherever you're joining us from. We appreciate it. You know how the Friday shows work. A little bit shorter, a little truncated edition of our live stream. So make sure you get it in. All right, questions, comments, throw them out there. We'll try to address as many of them as we can. But super chats always jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. Live from Brooms Island, Maryland. Is that what that said?
Yeah, Brooms Island. I've never heard of that.
Brooms Island, Maryland. All right, wherever you're joining us from, I don't even know if I know where that would be.
They got good crab cakes there.
I'm sure they got some bomb crab cakes. Brooms Island, Maryland.
I know it's not Baltimore. They're not sweeping anybody in anything in baseball. So
see, look at him. Matthew's already on it. See, Matthew's already looking it up. That's why Matthew's the best in the business, folks. You won't get better than that. Already giving us a little geography lesson early on the show. All right, we had player availabilities yesterday, so I want to get to guys' thoughts about player availabilities. What's up, CB? We'll get to that coming up. Also, ESPN had a couple of articles. One talking about Arch Manning. Of course, it seemed like they got one every week. And also predicting the playoff games and national title games. And yes, the Longhorns are represented well in those prognostications from ESPN. So we'll get to that coming up too. But first, something that also has Longhorn fans titillated, Jerry. All right, is it the prospect, the running back prospect, Derrick Cooper, that's got Longhorn fans all a Twitter, if you will?
Yeah, so Chaminade Madonna beat West Boca last night in their season opener. Those are both state champions in their classification in Florida. The top two running backs in the state of Florida. Derrick Cooper committed to Texas. Javian Mallory at West Boca committed to Miami. But Derrick Cooper had a couple of runs. This one, by the way, the feed, ESPN West Palm, I used to do a lot of work when I lived down there for them. They're doing games on YouTube in Palm Beach County. This was so well done. It was an amazing feed. Yes, the edge messed up the play biting, but look at Derrick Cooper's speed at 210, Rod. They have 5 D1 players on that defense now. That he ran away from 5 guys on that defense. I think the corner here is a D1 commitment, no chance. And then nobody closed the gap. In fact, he outraced and outpaced everybody. This guy's a real talent, man.
And how much does he weigh? Because he's
6'1" and change, about 205, 210 right now.
205, 210.
So, Jerry, I think we were talking about this last night. Actually, we were watching the game, getting ready to record a video for today, and Jerry, CJ, and I were watching some
Rod, this run is studly right here. But keep going.
I think the 3 comps I've settled on. I see some people mention Adrian Peterson. I just can't do that to anybody. But the 3 comps that I've seen for Derrick Cooper, and I see shades of all these guys in them. I see some Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah.
I see some Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
And I see some Willis McGahee in him too.
Those are the 3 people that are brought up the most. Rod and I brought up Chuba Hubbard as kind of an off-the-radar guy for him. Bobby mentioned Willis McGahee, and Georgia fans were Todd Gurley when he was committed to Georgia.
It depends on what happens with his body.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know how much weight he's going to gain because some of those guys are bigger, right? I've seen the Darren McFadden comparison. I made a Melvin Gordon comparison. I also at the time it kind of depends on what happens with his body. He could be like Jeff just said, any number of those guys. But if he gains 10, he gains 20 pounds, he'll look a little bit different. But I'm with you. I mean, he's special. There's no doubt. I mean, that's just
the other one.
Matt, can we bring up that second run one more time? Because I want to point something out on that. Okay, so from the start, the big D tackle here, 0, is a 2027 Texas is offered. That's at West Boca High. There were a couple of always a good sunset for Florida games, by the way. Even though that was an East Coast game. But that big, I think I can't remember his name, Jamar Sampson, I believe. The big tackle there is a guy Texas has offered in 27 and is recruiting out of West Boca High.
Single digit big man, big D lineman. How you feel about that, Jeff? Single digit. You got to be good.
Well, I think you got to. Well, you got to try to. 0 is too blocky. If you're going to go single digit, you got to get like the actual numeral, like 1 to 9. It slims you a little bit. It's slimming. The other comp that, man, and again, I don't want to compare Derrick Cooper, a high school kid, to somebody that rushed for 10,000 yards in the NFL. But man, the one that I said, I've heard all three of those, right? Jerry, the one that I saw when I see him, man, he reminds me a lot of Fred Taylor. Just the violence he runs with. And Fred Taylor had that violent forward body lean, that violent slashing ability in his prime. It's amazing as often as that guy was hurt, he still rushed for over 10,000 yards. But that's the one I kind of settled on of the ones we've talked about internally was for Derrick Cooper was Fred Taylor.
I'll say this about any running back from Florida. I've never covered a running back from Florida that wasn't tough. Period. And now we're going to get to Cedric Baxter in his comments because he's tough too. But those guys are physical, tough guys, no matter what the size they are. I've literally, my years doing this, I can't remember a single running back from that state I thought was, he's a little soft. And I can't say that for every state. For whatever reason, those kids got a little on their shoulder in that state.
Yeah.
See that? I like that comparison with Fred Taylor. It goes back to the body. The old Fred Taylor, like 230.
Yeah, 5'11", 225. Yeah.
If he's going to gain, what did Jerry say? He's 205, 210, somewhere in there. If he's going to gain 20, between 20, 25 pounds, then that's the comp for him. So I can't wait to see what kind of armor they put on him. And he may not need much. I mean, he may not need much at all.
What's crazy, Rod, is he's not that developed in his upper body. His lower body's what has really outpaced his upper body.
Yeah.
So he's going to get quite a bit, I think, add to his chest and his arms and shoulders and traps and everything at the college level.
Oof, that's exactly it's going to be fun to kind of follow his transformation as a player. All right, we'll get to the questions and the super chats, guys. I promise you that. Let's get you guys' thoughts about the player availability yesterday. Jeff, you were there. So was CJ. Great job covering it as always. So I'll start with you, and then we can go to Jerry. What stood out to you that was said the player availability? I think it was a good group of guys too, right? CJ Baxter, Colin Simmons among that group, Jelani McDonald among that group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jerry, I know you don't get out and golf as much as you used to, but I'm gonna tee it up for you. I'll leave it on the tee box. You can grab the driver. I'll leave you CJ Baxter. I'll go Ryan Wingo and Colin Simmons. I thought Ryan Wingo talking about how much he got to learn the game during spring ball when he was out with the injury, and when he was recovering, and he did make a joke about, I can actually see the ball now after his LASIK surgery. He's like, it really did make a difference. But he said just getting to bank those mental reps and getting to actually watch coverages, what the defense is doing, why they're in a certain coverage, how they play it. He said that's made him a better receiver. Obviously, his rapport with Arch is off the charts, but Ryan Wingo, when you're that talented and you kind of even start to drift into the area of being a student of the game, you're getting somewhere. I thought Colin Simmons, guys, was real poignant. Somebody asked him again about sack numbers. He said, I'm tired of talking about it. I don't want to talk about the numbers anymore. He's like, I just want to go out and do it. And, I've said it before. He seems like a guy, kind of like Anthony Hill was in the same mode you could tell last year. Colin Simmons knows he's got really this year, next year to prove himself as a top-tier NFL prospect, and he is hell-bent on proving he's going to be in the mix to be a top 5 type pick. And when you're in that conversation, you're in the conversation to be number 1 overall. Like, that's the attitude, the mindset he's got right now. So I was impressed with all 4 of those guys, but I thought, again, Wingo's comments about studying the game and then Colin just chomping at the bit, just ready to get after it. Love that attitude.
Can I, before we get to you, Jerry, can I just piggyback on the Colin Simmons thing? And I believe Matt may have the cut here from CJ about him talking about they're going to have him now with his hand in the dirt more. And the belief is that it is going to improve what is already an otherworldly ball get off.
Well, my coach definitely sees my get off being even faster than when I'm in a 2-point stance. In the league, my hand will be in the dirt, so why not work it out? So, yeah.
Did you have it down in jumping?
I did. I had it down my whole till senior year when I started realizing that these edges in the league is standing up.
So how much did it help to see Micah put his hands in the dirt when you watch that tape?
The same as me seeing other NFL pass rushers with their hand in the dirt, you know.
Yep.
So Rod, I want you to go into this. What is your take on that? What's the why for him? What's the why for him and Lau and Clark saying his BGO will get even better?
I've heard Alan Clark talk about the balance, that it's easier to get him off balance from the 2-point, from a 3-point, that he has more balance. And also, if he's talking about just BGO, ball get off, I mean, nobody starts their 40-yard dash from a 2-point.
Yeah.
Nobody's been trained like that. Nobody. Everybody's like, you really want to get off. The most efficient, most effective way to get off the line quick as possible with enough thrust and power, explosive power, all of that, the twitch, it's from that kind of stance where you're almost as an athlete, right? You're kind of building up that explosive power, right? As you are, in that 3-point stance. And a lot of guys may do it differently with the hand and everything. But ultimately, that's what it translates to. Like, I've never seen anybody from a 40-yard dash do it from a 2-point stance. Everybody's done it from a 3. And now that they have perfected it, they still go from the 3-point stance.
Yeah, I'm going to add another piece to this. Just see what you think about this, Rod. Is it also your eyes are lower? Because if you're looking at the snap, if you're in a stand-up position, you're looking down at the ball. So you're looking at the ball, and then when you see the ball snap, you adjust your eye level, right? Is there something to being in a 3-point stance where your eye level, your eyes are already lower to see the snap, and there's not really that up movement with your eyes after looking at the ball? That slight movement, I think being in a 3-point stance is a major difference in that, just from a body standpoint.
It'll keep your pads low, it'll keep your hips low, and it should facilitate the bend, right? They always talk about bend with rushers, right? Does he have that bend? And that, I think it's hard from a 2-point stance to get back down to that
That's
bend.
right. I mean, if you do anything you do in life, if you're looking like this and move your eyes up, what does it do? Your shoulders and your neck have to move a little bit with your eyes, right?
Yep.
So that's the split-second difference.
Yep. I love James. She says Cobra has to coil.
True.
That's a great description. Brilliant, James. Brilliant. I couldn't describe it better myself. That should be a coach. That should be a coachism. We should throw that out there as a coachism. Cobra's
I mean, you said it earlier, Rod. It's all about being an athlete. When you're as naturally as explosive as he is, you want to use your hips, core. You want to use everything. And yeah, the snake analogy is true. If you're, we deal with it here in Texas. If you're, walking down a dirt road, you see a rattlesnake. Which one are you going to fear? You're going to fear the one that's stretched out, or are you going to fear the one that's coiled up, ready to strike?
Mm-hmm. That's brilliant, James. I just wrote that down, James. All right, I will give you credit, but I'm taking that. That's brilliant. All right, let's get to a couple of super chats. And you know what? Before we do that, Jerry, I'm not sure if I got to you about what stood out to you. Sorry about that. About the player that stood out to you.
Yeah, let's talk Cedric Baxter and why he's a great leader. But I just think the way he approaches everything, and what he said yesterday, Jeff, it's just one of those things. It's the mental hurdles in a comeback, and this is why I've been kind of really slow with all this with him. Is it's a step-by-step process, and you can't have a setback. Right. This is a big thing from a step-by-step timing perspective, not having a setback. But what he said yesterday was he said he called his dad and he was most excited, not about playing, but actually taking hits in the scrimmage. And that is so important. It just goes to how that guy is as a leader, how he's wired. And I've said the story, 1,000 times at this point, but that just immediately took me back to when I was at Edgewater, and he had a little slightly pulled hamstring. They could have played him if it was meaningful games. They chose not to until the playoffs. But he was in the huddle leading his team for a 2-hour practice. And it was one of the reasons I stayed the whole practice. I was like, this is kind of odd. You don't see many 5-star guys do that if they're injured. it's just a leadership, man. It's just a constant, that message he sends to the next guy that gets hurt, right? The way he's handling getting back on the field, the mental hurdle. There's some nerves that come with it, right? But he went out, he's gone without fear. And that's the biggest thing is it just continues his leadership path. It continues the why he is viewed the way he is in the locker room by Steve Sarkisian and the staff. And oh, by the way, that type of mentality he has and those type of football smarts and intellect is how you become a freshman starter at a blue blood program.
Yeah, I think we forget, Jerry, he opened up the 23 season as good as Jonathan Brooks was. CJ Baxter was a starter to open up. I agree with what you said. He even admitted, and he wrote about this in his Players Tribune piece a few months ago, but he mentioned it again yesterday. Right after the surgery, he had surgery the week before the opener, so he had to watch the opener, from the couch. And he said those first couple of weeks were tough because he couldn't really do anything. But he decided to your point, Jerry, he decided to make the most of it. And he's like, look, I'm just going to be the best teammate I can be. I'm going to be in the huddle, help Coach Choice as much as possible, get to learn the offense. And again, he was one that really just banked as many mental reps as possible. The thing he said, though, that I think really shows the kind of culture Texas has right now. And Rod, I've heard you talk about this being injured in the NFL and just kind of what a lonely feeling that can be when you're kind of by yourself, left to your own devices to try to rehab. CJ said throughout the rehab process, he said, I never felt alone, whether it was the coaching staff, the medical staff, his teammates, always had people around him. He wasn't just kind of left off on an island by himself. He wasn't a forgotten man. They did their best to make him an active part of the program. And that's not something, as long as I've been around the program and covered the program, that's not something I've always heard about happening. I've heard some, guys get depressed because you kind of feel like you're forgotten if you're injured during the season. That's something that happened with CJ.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I agree with that 100%. He does seem like he was in good spirits throughout the entire process. And even now at the player availability, he referenced the trials of Job. Just talk about a biblical reference. And I think the story was that he ran into Coach Blake Gideon, and Coach Gideon was like, hey, what you're going through, basically, you should read the trials of Job. And he's like, all right, that's what I'm doing right now. And he kind of took that as a sign that he's on the right track. I've also been crazy about it. I've also been injured and read the trials of Job. I feel you. Anytime you're going through anything like that, Job had it worse. Yeah. Like, it could be worse. It could be like, you could be like Job. All right. So I agree with you about that. And CJ Baxter, I've met him a few times. I mean, he's a natural leader. I will say that. Like he's a great football character. So it does not surprise me that he did not get too down about the injury.
That's a real quick, Rod. I'm glad you brought up that term. We use it a lot. And Jerry, you just described it too. Like a lot of the guys Sark has recruited, yes, they're recruiting great athletes. They're recruiting guys, a lot of guys that got a chance to play in the NFL. They're recruiting guys with good football character. Mm-hmm. And that goes a long way to helping you win ball games. It might sound cliche, but when guys really have great football character, it's one of those things. It's really hard to describe it, but you know it when you see it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's why he likes guys he's talked about championship programs at the high school level, because that they're usually doing a great job of cultivating good football character. Your powerhouse programs in Texas or in Georgia, you ain't gonna be able to. You're not gonna be a leader on that team if you don't have really good football character. They'll weed you out themselves,
no doubt.
So I think that's why that's part of it too. But you're right about that, Jeff. All right, super chats. Let's get right to them. Buddy Pal, Chief Big Guy says $20 million to win a title. Cheat, baby, cheat.
we talked about this on Coffee and Football this morning. If I'm Sark right now, I'm building my scouting department because national championship for 20 to 30 million, easy money, easy decision.
I mean, if you were expecting the NCAA to come down on Michigan, that's a you problem.
I was a little bit more. I'll be honest. I was wrong. I thought it had to be a little bit worse than what it was. I mean, this is the worst cheating scandal in the history of college football.
It's bad. It's bad, Jerry. But I mean, here. Can I tell you what?
The Houston Astros GM and president lost their jobs over this.
Yeah. When I lost faith in the NCAA was when, the NCAA was invested when Oregon didn't even, I don't think, got a slap on the wrist at the end of the deal with their allegations. But remember when the NCAA was investigating Willie Lyles and they gave Lake Seastrunk like complete immunity just to go testify. Well, I covered Lake Seastrunk's recruitment, like the fact that you just gave him complete immunity, like, hey, it's no problem, just tell us what happened, like that. I was like, I just lost faith in the NCAA at that point. Like it's a toothless organization.
Yeah, and they've never had subpoena power. That's the biggest problem they've had. But yeah, I mean, look, Jim Harbaugh's never coaching college football again. He doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
He got his national title at Michigan. He's done.
Didn't Pete Carroll get a show cause when the SC sanctions were handed down? Like, what does it matter?
Of it. I'm sure he had to, but it didn't matter. It wasn't coming back. So I'm with you. I think ultimately, I mean, you're right, Jeff. We should not expect much from the NCAA. If you are at this point, they've shown you who they are as an organization, and they're losing more and more power. To Jerry's point, every day they're losing more and more power. At one point soon, they're going to become a total. I mean, as related to college football, they will be a totally irrelevant organization. At one point, it's on its way there. As soon as the Big Ten and the SEC make their super conference and swallow up the ACC and whatever remainings of the Big 12, that's when they'll make their move and say, yeah, you know what, we're moving away from the NCAA. Yeah,
the other NCAA thing, just real quick, like. And I see it like if I'm going down a Wikipedia like rabbit hole, I'll see it in like a coach's, coaching wins. Vacating wins and championships is the dumbest form of punishment ever. Like, what are you gonna make? You're gonna make Michigan vacate a national championship? No, I watched it. I watched Michigan win that championship. I guarantee you, if you said, "Hey, Washington, now you're the national champion for 2020." It doesn't matter. Kalen DeBoer and all those guys that play for him. Remember, no, we got our butts kicked on national television. Like we don't want it. Like Jerry, it's real similar to I've talked to and Mike Jinks, the former Cibolo Steel head coach, was a college head coach. He was a quarterback of the Converse Judson team that got beat by Dallas Carter and then got awarded the state championship when the UIL finally decided Carter was ineligible. They don't like celebrate that state championship. They're like, no, we remember being at Texas Stadium getting our heads kicked in. Like, we're state champions, but it's just it's got an asterisk next to it. Nobody celebrates it. Yeah.
The NCAA guys has honestly, they've failed on all of the biggest scandals pretty much in recent history. And I'm talking about some of them like crimes against nature. We're talking about the Joe Paterno Penn State stuff, Larry Nassar stuff. We're talking about Baylor. We're talking, some of like serious. We're talking about crimes against nature. They failed on that kind of stuff. So it's no surprise. Hell, remember the North Carolina cheating scandal?
Yeah, the cheating scandal.
I'm not making this up. Go read it. They literally said, yes, we agree that North Carolina had a academic fraud on a mass scale. Fake classes. And they decided that is not necessarily an NCAA violation, though. Although, yes, it was a 2 decades long scandal of academic fraud, and we can prove it. That doesn't make it an NCAA violation. And you're like, what? Like, yeah, that's when they decided, we don't. They don't have a moral compass. They got a money compass.
Yeah.
And that's what they.
Steve Rex says, who gets the $30 million fine? Where's the money go? You know what should go? That should be extra NIL revenue for all of Michigan's opponents. Everybody should get $3 million an extra for recruiting.
Oh,
not that would stop Larry Ellison. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Somebody joked that Larry Ellison did he bring that tip money out and give it to Michigan for that? Here's $30 million, no big deal.
What is Connor Stallions doing now? Do we know?
He was a high school coach in the Detroit area, defensive coordinator.
I saw that. Yeah.
I think that's where he's at.
Okay. Isn't he still beloved by Michigan fans though? Don't they love that guy? I know he's been ostracized by a lot of folks.
He's definitely not Steve Bartman for Cubs fans, right? I mean, like he's not like that level at all. Like
I would have thought you loved Connor Stallions. I mean, that's a big reason why you got your championship, baby.
Started beating Ohio State.
Come on now. I don't, you know. All right, we won't get into that. We spent too much time talking about Michigan and the cheating scandal before, but yes, once again, the NCAA toothless as always. JD65 has a super chat, but I don't see the question, JD65. And I apologize about that. If you'll throw it out there again, we'll try to identify it in the chat if we missed it. We apologize. But thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate that. All right, let's thank our first sponsor for today's program, and then we'll dive into some more questions from the stream here. Hargrove Roofing. We appreciate our friends over at Hargrove Roofing, hargroveroofing.com. Offices all over Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And actually, Hargrove Roofing is offering right now a free roof inspection. If you're thinking about, getting a new roof, or it's been a while since you've had your roof inspected, or maybe it's been some severe weather in your area and you hadn't looked on the roof because you don't want to go up there, leave it to the professionals at Hargrove Roofing, hargroveroofing.com. Reach out at 512-645-3202. They are the most pro burnt orange roofing company out there, with partnerships and collaborations with several lifetime Longhorns, including my former teammate and good friend, lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee, who joins the winning drive every Monday, courtesy of Hargrove Roofing. So we appreciate them and their ongoing support and sponsorship of On Texas football.
Hey, Matt, I got to ask you to find it, producer Matt in the background. If Harbaugh got a 10-year show cause for that, what should have been his show cause for the Jordan Elliott cake? 15-year show cause for the Jordan Elliott recruiting cake? Lifetime ban from recruiting in the state of Texas. Lifetime show cause ban. If this is the best you can come up with for a cake, Rod, you've seen it, right?
I don't think I've seen this.
You haven't seen the Jordan Elliott? Oh my gosh!
Is this a Harbaugh stunt? A bit?
I don't know who baked the cake and made the cake, but man, that's it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough.
Is it like Harbaugh's did Harbaugh have somebody personally bake it, or did he get it from a?
When you see, if we get a picture of it, you'll understand why I don't think he should ever be allowed to set foot in the state of Texas.
He can't recruit Texas players ever again after this.
Which is funny because Michigan won their national championship in Houston. So.
Yeah, that's true. I'll find it and send it to Matt.
All right. No, Harbaugh's a strange dude, man. One of the strange Harbaugh facts is that he said he remembers his birth. Remembers the you know that, right? He actually claims that he remembers it. I'm not joking. You got to go check out the random Harbaugh facts out there. There's some really great Harbaugh facts just about the random stuff. Remember he talked about how he used to go trick-or-treating as a kid, and he would change costumes. And he would sprint to the houses so he would get to more houses.
No, there it is. That's the state of Texas cake, Rod.
Oh, I don't know what the hell that is. That's
a lifetime ban from recruiting in the state of Texas.
Yeah, that's not gonna make it on Cake Wars. That ain't gonna win.
That's unbelievable.
That is, that's terrible. That's bad.
Rod, you live right around between the A and the N. Jeff's a little south of there. I'm over here in the water somewhere, fighting for my life right now because that's not really where it's at.
I think Jose is right though. When Charlie was talking about the cake being baked, that's kind of what the cake looked like.
That's what Charlie was talking about. Certainly seems that way. All right, there you go. And let's get to a couple of questions here. How about this one from Hoosier Horns? Jerry, do you see any threat from Cooper wandering?
Derrick Cooper. No, look, he'll be at a Miami game. I'd go to a Miami Notre Dame game. I'd go to college football games if I was a recruit. No different than guys that Texas brings in or guys that are committed to Texas that go elsewhere. Miami's the one that'll just try to keep going all until signing day, as they should. If they don't, they should get fired. But I think Miami right now thinks it's an uphill battle for him. So we'll see if it changes over the next 5 months. He'll be on Texas campus a couple of times during the season.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that. How about this one from JRay626? Says, if Manning ends up winning the Natty and or Heisman within the next 2 years, will other QBs become more receptive and patient with the development process? Yeah.
This is a tough question. You want to say your mind wants to say yes, but I do think it, Rod. I do think it depends on financial background.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It helps with the Adele.
CD is not that guy, right? He's not have that pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't have that pressure.
Yeah.
But look, Arch didn't take any NIL money until he was a starter, right? That's not going to be the case. That's going to be part of deals negotiated 99.99% of times. And so I'll say no. That may be a Dia belt. It has to be somebody. But Dia now being in the state of Florida, he just did a Gatorade commercial on Instagram. Like in the state of Florida, he's making NIL as a senior high school football player in Florida. So his deals are already well into the works, by the way, even though he comes from, obviously, his family's in a good position. But I don't think we'll see it again. Not like that.
I think there's too much. There's just too much ego involved at that position, Jerry. You've been doing this long enough. I mean, there's so many people in these kids' ears. And I think that's what it boils down to, too. I mean, who's in the kid's ear? I mean, do they really have the kid's best interest at heart? Are they just looking for the biggest bag? I know we can say that about every position, but quarterback is different, man. It is the most important position in sports, and there's a reason why it commands the dollars it does in high school recruiting and in the portal.
And then also the staying the extra year in college, if it comes to that. If Arch really has that decision and he stays the extra year, that's a difference maker too. That's where people won't make that decision very often. And I will help you, but at the quarterback position, Rod, if you're a first-round pick and you say, I think I'll stay, that decision's made 1 out of 100 times, or 1 out of 1,000.
Yeah. Arch is such an outlier that it's hard to say that it could start a trend because he's such an outlier. You have to see like examples after him aside from Arch.
Right.
I mean, for every Matt Leinart, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, there are 20 guys that end up striking while the iron's hot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. No, and I totally get it. I would do it too. Doug, cash in that money.
I'm thinking about a couple of Sark's USC quarterbacks like Matt Leinart came back for the extra year. I mean, Mark Sanchez got told, hey, you're going to be probably a top 5 pick. Even though he only started that 1 year, like you have to go at that point. And plus, especially at that time, because rookie contracts, there was no rookie wage scale at that point. So the higher you got drafted, you could pretty much name your price. Yeah. So it's a different deal for that position, man.
All right. Good question there, Jay Ray. Moving on here. How about this is from Ski Breck? Other than O-line / QB room, where do we lack some depth if 1 or 2 guys in one room go down? Knocking on wood here, Ski Breck. Thank you for the question. Tight end feels like that for me just because you haven't had proven commodities. Like Jack Henry's the only guy in that room that's got a target in a game.
What about whenever we talk about this, man, I feel like what if Manny Muhammad gets hurt? How do we feel about the behind him at corner? There's no real game experience there.
No.
I mean, if he rolled an ankle at Ohio State, that's a significant loss in that game.
Agreed. Kobe's got a little bit, but not much experience at all. That's a good point. I agree with you on that.
Look, what happened last year? Isaiah Bond went down half the year. Ryan Wingo got nicked up and missed time. You have a couple of wideout injuries this year. You're getting into true freshman time with multiple guys.
That's real.
That's why I think it's important to get those guys on the field games 2, 3, and 4.
I agree with that.
Especially Jerry, since right now we don't know what Emmett Mosley's status is going to be for Ohio State.
Yeah,
at this point.
And I'd prefer Boomeister not try to tackle anybody this year.
If Boomeister's making tackles, we're in trouble.
That's true. Even if it comes down to it, I know you have to make the tackle to save a touchdown, but if you're along the sidelines, Boomeister, you push the guy out of bounds. You do not lead with your anything.
Yeah. Or you just try to get them to make moves until the cavalry comes there. Or just try to grab an ankle and hang on. You ain't got to make contact. Just if you can just grab an ankle, and then you're good.
I'll even take the tripping 15-yard penalty.
I'm cool with that.
Slide the leg and take it out.
Hey, anybody that thinks Jerry's joking, my first thought was, you guys remember the 2019 season when Ryan Brzezowski running a fake punt, broke his collarbone, and your punter's all of a sudden done for the year? Like, yeah, it can happen, and it ain't fun when it does.
Didn't it happen to Georgia?
Yeah,
Thorson got hurt. Yeah.
Nah, you don't need punters getting cut. Yeah, Georgia punter got hurt during that Texas game. Yeah, you don't need to. They don't need to be in full contact anything. They never get hit in any practice. That'd be like you coming off the street. You'd get hurt that really, really bad too. That's what punters are basically out there. Them and kickers. All right, they're fragile, as they would say on the Christmas story.
Must be
All
a
right.
talent.
All right. How about this one from Roger? Says, Rod, what has been the biggest adjustment for the Texas secondary in year 2 of SEC play? That is good. I think I do think, and Sark even acknowledged this, that they're going to play more man concepts and single high concepts. So I think for this group, can they play more press man? I think would be something else that I think they'd like to explore in terms of expand or evolving as a secondary. The other adjustment is going to be just how much emphasis Sark and Coach Akina have placed on positionless aspects of the secondary, guys moving around and cross-training. Yet last year they were doing it some with Jadae Barron, of course. There's no doubt about that, him moving. But now they got, I would say that half the secondary, if not more of it, are cross-training at different positions because they're trying to get the best 5 on the field. So how they work in combination with all these different pieces, because Sark says that even matchup-wise, week to week, these lineups may change. If they think a certain lineup that they have is going to match up better with an opponent's philosophy or whatever, they may change it, may go big nickel that week with Jelani McDonald. They may decide, I like our 3 safeties against this group, or this group we like a big physical corner out there. I think in this situation, like I have no idea how they're going to match it up, but they have so many versatile pieces. I think they could, and they're cross training so many guys to give them solutions to these potential problems that could be presented. So I think that's the multiplicity and the man coverage. I think are the next steps of evolution for this Texas secondary. So thank you, Roger. I appreciate the question.
Hey, Rod, coming out of the scrimmage, from a secondary standpoint, what do you want to hear?
Ooh, that's good. Honestly, I want to hear because I don't know if there's any spot that's been talked about more than that nickel spot, that slot corner. It seems like the Gilbo to the corner thing is pretty consistent. Seems like it's been one of the more consistent parts of the secondary. The only inconsistent piece of the secondary, or at least the most uncertain element of the secondary, has been who's going to play that nickel. And I don't think anybody really knows. I don't know if the coaches really know just yet. Maybe they have a good idea after the first scrimmage. But the second scrimmage, I'd like because like I said, I know they want multiple guys to be able to utilize in that role. I know they want that, but I'd like to see them have guys they have confidence in early that this guy can play the slot, play the star. It's such a unique position, guys. I was doing the research on this. I'll probably do my Sunday school on it, but it's the hit rate, the NFL hit rate on it's got to be close to 50%, if not higher. Right, guys who have actually played that position in the last 20 years, that 50% of those guys go to the NFL because it's a really unique skill set and a really diverse one you have to have. So who they find in that role, especially for the Ohio State game, I can't wait to see what their solution is, their answer is. Is it Jelani McDonald? Could just be, hey, you know what? Jelani's the best guy. Derrick Williams ahead of schedule. We got 3 starting safeties. It's him. We're gonna start. We believe our big nickel is our best option. Or is it a young Grayson Littleton? He's that much of a prodigy and a phenom. We're gonna go with him. Is it a Wardell Mack they decide to put in there? They got a number of different options that they could go with. So that's what I'm interested in. A little bit biased as a DB, so I'm a little biased about that. Okay. Let's get to Jonah Williams enthusiast with a super chat. Speaking of DBs, says, can you teach or learn instincts like Makuba, or do you think it's God-given? That's good, Jonah Williams enthusiast. Jerry?
High-end instincts you're born with it.
Mm-hmm.
This sounds weird. You can train, study the game, and improve, I think, your instinctive reactions. But I think like a running back, you're born with that stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
You're born with that, the instincts, the vision, the feel for setting up blocks in real time. You can't really practice that. It has to, because every movement's different around you and your peripherals. I think instincts at linebacker that are really just a given thing. Rod, what do you think as a safety? I mean, yeah, you got to have, instincts matter in all sports, athletic instincts, but you can build off of athletic instincts. There's guys that I think have special instincts for born to do it type of thing at a position.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, especially guys who have a lot of the range that McCooper did. To be, to have that kind of range, that's not all just your physical talents. That's a lot of your mental acumen for the game. He's faster. Talk about football speed. He's probably, and I'm not saying he's slow. He can, I don't know what he ran in the 40, but he's plenty fast enough to play at the highest level. But he's a guy whose football speed will translate to real-time games because of how he sees the game and his vision. And so I think that's also part of his instincts, like you talked about. I mean, that guy had great eye discipline, taking him through progressions as a safety, and just an uncanny ability to be able to track footballs sideline to sideline. What do you have, 5 picks against for Texas this year? Was it 5? I think he had 5. I want to say him and Jade both had 5.
Yeah.
Think about that. And he wasn't even starting at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Right? Remember, like Derrick Williams was like starting a lot of times. I mean, they were rotating them in, but I think Derrick Williams was getting like the majority of those reps. Man, and he could play nickel. And there were actually sometimes last year where they had to do the safety rotations. They got essentially the offense was able to get them out of position schematically and get the safety matched up on their slot. They would just roll him down. He cover the slot. It's no big deal. Like, it was not uncomfortable for him at all. And that's why he's going to end up playing early for the Eagles, because he can cover. He's a safety that can cover, which usually means you're undersized, which he is. But he's undersized, but he hits and plays like he's a 6'2", 6'3", old school box safety. Mm-hmm. He's a headhunter. And that's why he's an amazing combination of skills, because of his mentality as a headhunter. He's a way more physical safety than his frame would indicate.
I think to Jerry's right, though, and based on how Jerry's describing it, like, I think of guys where they got a lot more out of football than what their body and their physical traits said they probably should have got out of the game. Like, Rod, I've heard you talk about Dre Bly that way. Mm-hmm. You think of a guy like Quandre. I think of a guy like Datwin at A&M back in the day, like guys that you look at him and you're like, okay, the dude's nothing special. When you've got elite instincts like that, that's the stuff that either you've got it or you don't.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, you actually brought up a name I was going to reference in that is Datwin from a linebacker perspective.
Yeah.
Was that guy. If you watched a lot of him, and obviously Texas fans, they played every year, so they saw a lot of Datwin during that time. That guy had very high-level instincts for being a linebacker. And I think there's certain guys just have the instincts to play running back, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Emmitt Smith had instincts to play running back. I say this all the time about Emmitt Smith. If he came out of high school today, I know he'd have had 8,000 yards at Escambia High or whatever. But if he showed up at an Under Armour camp and he ran 4.73 at 5'8", 182, going to his senior year in high school, Rod, would he have gone to Florida? Or would they have talked themselves out of him going to Florida?
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, that's the scary thing nowadays is sometimes the combine settings can override a player's instincts. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure he's the same level recruit he was. He could have started at UCF and portaled up.
I mean, Jerry, you taught 2 guys that fit that bill, or 2 guys you talk about when you saw them playing a playoff game against each other in high school, Sean Witherspoon and Earl Thomas. I mean, one was an all-pro, and Earl should be a Hall of Famer, but both those guys are real similar in that.
Yeah, no doubt, 100%. Like Earl Thomas, and you couldn't even see it that much in high school to the level he was going to be, because he played running back, he played safety, he played corner, he was in the return game. So he was kind of like Quandre Diggs in a weird way. He just moved all over the place, right, to help West Orange win games. So you never really got to see him play one singular position. You knew he was a really good player, but I'm not sure anybody. And I would say Texas and LSU finished second. I think he eclipsed even what they thought he was going to be. I'm not sure they could see the level of player that guy actually was going to become in college.
Yeah.
Coach Akina said originally he put him at nickel. He put him at the star. He was like, because he was a little small, right? Smallest guy, really good instincts. He's like, no, guy can play, and he's physical. Guy can play nickel. And it just took a few snaps at safety for him to go, all right, he makes more plays at safety. He could be a fine nickel, but he's a playmaker at safety. Let's just leave him there. Because he just was, he was a ball hawk.
Yeah.
And his ball hawking ability was way more valuable than his instincts and physicality at the nickel position. And the rest is history.
But to you, I've heard you talk about this too, Rod. I mean, of all the great defensive backs Dwayne Akina coached during his first run at Texas, the only guy he said he had that could play all 6 positions: field corner, boundary corner, field safety, boundary safety, nickel, dime. Adrian Phillips was the only guy that could play all 6.
Yeah, that's what he said at the time. And that's why he's stuck in the league as an undrafted free agent.
Bill Belichick gave him many checks.
Yes, he did. No doubt about it. All right. Colin with a super chat. Thank you, Colin, for the super chat. We appreciate it. He says, what general themes do y'all hope to hear from the upcoming scrimmage? And what do y'all not want to hear outside of injury? Yes. All right. That was good.
What I don't want to hear is because I think this is a game-setting scrimmage. Coaches on the sideline, right, Rod? The coaches are going to leave these guys alone a little more.
Yeah. See
who answers the bell. I don't want to hear, oops, coverage bust, had some bad communication. That would be because that's to me is with the defense, they had such great communication in the secondary last year. Yes. There were very few coverage busts.
Oh, yeah.
If you start to hear anything like, well, we're not there where we were a year ago, then you start to get a little more worried because you're like, okay, now the pass rush has to get home a high percentage of the time, especially going into Ohio State game. Because those dudes score touchdowns off of busted coverage and miscommunication. They don't get first downs. They score touchdowns off of miscommunication. That's almost my number one thing I want to hear is that there was really sound communication in the secondary because I know what the front seven's bringing.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
I don't want to hear about the offensive line getting dominated, just overwhelmed. I need a little more give and take with the O-line and D-line.
And if they scheme it up a little bit more, I think that's, they weren't going to – Sark wasn't going to do much scheme-wise with the parents in the stands. He knows information gets out, right?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
He's going to bring a little bit more in this scrimmage, I have a feeling.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason, too, why, we're scheduled now to get him right after the scrimmage because I think the whatever information gets disseminated, I think the head coach wants to make sure it's out there.
Yes.
To your point, though, Jerry, I think this is worth reinforcing. You mentioned scheming it up. And, Rod, I don't even know if NFL teams do this anymore because the CBA and the preseason structure is so wonky, but it used to be NFL teams would take, like, that third preseason game and have, like, the dress rehearsal game or, like, the starters. They may play a half, maybe even into that first possession of the second half. That'll be kind of what this scrimmage is. It will not be, especially the offensive play calling. We heard, very little in terms of motions and shifts, a lot under center. It'll be about as much of the full tilt Texas offense as Sark feels like revealing this early in the season. It will be on display tomorrow.
Yeah. What I don't want to hear, I'm tired of hearing that the defense is ahead of the offense. I'm tired of that. So to add to what Jeff just said, Sark probably needs to scheme up some stuff. And I want to hear the receivers other than Ryan Wingo are making plays. And I know I'm a DB, so you're like, Robbie, what is that? I got faith in the defense. I know the pass rush is going to be elite. They're going to figure out the secondary. I got so much faith in Coach Akina. They are so deep and versatile at linebacker. Defense is going to be good, real good. But I am tired of hearing about defense and offense. To Jeff's point, the pass rush and D-line's overwhelming the offensive line. At this point, I think the offense, they need some more confidence. All right, at this point in training camp. And I think that comes with what you guys said about Sark, now adding those cheat codes and hacks into the offense and now maybe scheming up. Because that's the brilliance of the Sark offense is also that Sark attacks weaknesses, specific weaknesses on the opposing team. He's not doing that against the Texas defense, but this scrimmage, he probably will.
And by the way, he needs to do some of that to test the defense for PK.
Yes.
That's the big. There's going to be more motion, pre-snap movement Saturday than there was a week ago because he needs to test the defense.
Yep. Yeah.
If you're bland, that really doesn't. 2 weeks in a row, scrimmages in a row, that really doesn't help your defense. Everybody knows they can rush the passer and win up front against 99.9% of the people they play against.
Yeah, I don't want the first time this defense sees a lot of motion to be in Columbus on August 30th.
Yeah.
I want them to rep it live. And it kind of combines what both of you talked about. You know, if we hear about, hey, Ryan Wingo or Parker Livingstone made a contested catch down the field for a big play against one of the corners, guys, Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith are probably going to make a couple of those in the Ohio State game. I can't hear, though, that, hey, so-and-so got 30 yards behind the defense and there was nobody within, yelling distance of him because you busted a cover. Is that and Jerry, I think you mentioned this yesterday, I think, or maybe it was on Coffee and Football this morning, but I agree. No, I can't have a bunch of pre-snap penalties on offense. False starts, illegal shifts. You got to this is if Texas is going to win a national championship, you've got to be way more buttoned up in that area than you've been the last couple of years.
The thing that would make game one toughest on Arch is being behind the chains a lot.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Because he's going to chunk that thing down the field. Cash Lambert has asked us 3 times, and I'm not sure I have an answer. What are the possible negative effects of 14-week prohibition and 25-point probation and 25% reduction in football visits? I just don't think that's a big deal, man. I know NCAA doesn't have subpoena power, but I'm very surprised at what happened today. Even for me, as much as I've always joked about it, to me this was so egregious. This was one of the more egregious things we've seen in college sports, in my opinion. That's not really doing anything to hurt Michigan.
No, they won
not in the NIL era. So sorry, we can't have as many visits. Okay, so we're just going to have to get deals done with the guys we like most.
Pretty much. Yeah. No, I agree with you. But like I said, they won a national title, so it was worth it to them no matter what the penalty is. They're like, we won a national title, even though it doesn't matter.
UMass basketball fans are never going to a Final Four. You think they care if John Cal's banner got vacated? They don't care.
No.
They had Marcus Camby and went to a Final Four.
Damn right.
And lived that thing.
Exactly. Sugar Cane Daddy, not the crop here. Thank you for the super chat. Says Sark is the king of disinformation. Just watch. Are you talking about right after practice, his media? Yeah. So this is all so he can throw out disinformation potentially?
No, I don't think it's disinformation. I just think he'll get out what he wants to get out, and what he doesn't want to get out, you'll be able to tell that that's something he doesn't want to talk about.
Okay. Can't you tell by what kind of mood he is in? What kind of practice it was?
Yeah, if you get if Sark's giving you a thoughtful answer, if he's like really into the question, then you can tell like there's some validity to it. If it's just a expressionless face and like a 2-word answer, then it's something he probably doesn't want to talk about.
Oh, yeah. All right. I hope we get jovial, very happy, upbeat Sark. That means
Jeff, no hypothetical questions Saturday, please.
Yeah, we don't. That's why I love dealing in hypotheticals, because Sark won't. Yeah, don't ask Sark a hypothetical.
Yeah, that's how you know you've never been to a Sark press or media event. But when you ask the hypothetical, it's like, oh, dude, don't you know he never answers hypotheticals? You just wasted a question. All right, let's thank our final sponsor for today's program, our friends over at Vaughn Lane. We appreciate them very much. If you are traveling to any of the major cities in and around the great state of Texas, whether you're going to Houston or Dallas or Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin as well. If you're trying to get to these cities, it can be a bit of a toss-up. Do you deal with the airport chaos and the general high stress level of any airport experience, hoping your flight isn't delayed? Or do you brace yourself for hours behind the wheel, battling traffic, burning an entire day of productivity? Well, there's a third option, and it's a much better option. It is the Vaughn Lane, folks. You arrive at a luxury hotel terminal, no TSA lines, no long-term parking lots, just a seamless boarding experience that takes minutes, not hours. You settle into one of just 22 oversized first-class seats with 140-degree recline, leg rest, and a cabin attendant, serving complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select trips, a full meal if you'd like. And if you need to relax, pretty simple. Just lean back and enjoy the ride. But if you want to stay productive, there's also high-speed Wi-Fi and power at every seat. Fall travel is booking fast. So reserve your spot now for October trips to Texas versus OU in Dallas, F1 and ACL in Austin, or college football weekends in Nashville, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston. Von Lane connects Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Nashville, Atlanta, Memphis, and now Knoxville as well, the Woodlands and Plano. Visit vonlane.com. Use the code OTF25 to save $20 off your first ride with Von Lane. That's Von Lane Elevated Regional Bus Transportation. Thank you very much to our friends at Von Lane. Oh, Rocky P threw in a super chat here toward the end of our live stream. Thank you, Rocky P. Says this: do Sark and PK spend today installing play schemes for tomorrow like they would for a game week? That is a good question. I actually don't know the process.
That would probably be next week, where next Saturday they'll usually have the scrimmage where they'll go in the stadium, they'll simulate, 2-minute situations or whatever. They'll kind of have the mock game next Saturday. So I think that'll be more what that's about.
All right.
I mean, I think they'll have stuff, they'll have scripts and stuff they want to get done, but in terms of I'm assuming, Rocky P, I don't know if this is what you're asking, but how similar the call sheet going to be tomorrow to what they're going to have against Ohio State? I don't think it'll be the same at all.
Yeah. And pretty soon they're going to start working on Ohio State. I mean, right? I mean, you're basically at the point now when you start your Ohio State.
They probably already have.
I mean, they probably are, but in Easter egg form. I always say coaches, and Sark has admitted to this, that they will slip in certain concepts early on in during training camp, and maybe during when they had Bama in week 2 for that week 1 game that is also Bama related, and then have the guys get ready for that certain concept, even though it's not relevant that week. It'll be relevant for the Bama game. He's admitted to doing that, and Mac Brown, you should do that too. Just kind of give you a little bit of extra prep for those opponents other than the game week. But now, I mean, with week 1, like with you, I wouldn't even hide it anymore. No, this is Ohio State prep. We're getting ready.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have the scrimmage Saturday. Team will probably have a day off Sunday. When you get to the practice fit on Monday, it's all Buckeyes at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're gonna need to install.
Hey, Rob, before we get out of here today, I want you to bring up the Arch Manning thoughts from NFL scouts heading into the season. The ESPN article you referenced, because I think I just read that while y'all were talking. There's some really interesting stuff from NFL scouts in there. Yeah,
it is actually, and I'd encourage anybody to go check it out. It's pretty long form, of course, but it's Heather. I believe it's Heather Dinich.
Yeah,
so she talks to 20, 25 NFL scouts. And they one of the things they point out is, which I like, they said they believe, and this is from a quote from Sark, said probably the most natural thing is his athleticism, to where he's a threat when he runs the ball. You have to account for him because there's a speed component to the way he runs, and there's a physical component to the way he runs. And so some of the things that we're able to do in short yardage may be a little bit different than where we've been in the past. And it says here that they have added the quarterback run game in short yardage. We know that from the Manning package last year, but also in third down situations and also in red zone situations.
Yeah.
2 of the areas where I said I think you're going to see maybe the biggest bump in productivity from the Arch factor will be red zone and third down, critical areas where Texas has been essentially middle of the road to below average the last couple of years, even though the offense has been one of the more prolific offenses in college football. So that I thought was pretty cool. And it also says in this article here, it says Sarkisian said, we may not change so much, but his ability to use his legs on third down in the red area to create plays when people are in man coverage and people are blitzing and there's voids to go run, I think would be another component to that as well. So they got some quotes from Sark here that's pretty good about, like I said, I think it's going to be more the he's describing a scramble here, guys.
Yes.
Describing scrambling. And I've said the scramble drill and the scramble is going to be the cheat code that Sark hasn't had access to that Arch now gives him, and that is scary. It's scary. Yeah.
Do your receivers though? How versed are they in the scramble drills? Probably something we're gonna have to see evolve throughout the year.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not like other than I figured DeAndre Moore probably pretty good at it just because he's an instinctual player anyway. But I think the other guys in that room, it'll take some time.
You got the bigger receivers too, which I think helps. They got bigger frames for contested catch situations. Amy Mosley's really good at that. I think Ryan Wingo's really good in those situations. Another thing about the scouts, though, she said that she talked to scouts, and scouts are not now seriously. They're not considering him for this upcoming draft because they all believe that he is going to be at Texas for 2 years. It did say NFL scouts typically say 25 collegiate starts is the minimum for any incoming quarterback that should be, obviously required before entering the draft to be on their draft board. Manning only has 2. A long playoff run says he would get him 18. Says Peyton started 45 games in college. Eli had 41 starts in college here. Points out. So
that the NFL scouts, none of those guys think he's coming out.
No.
And by the way, the last comment in there, Matthew, I think is the big one. By an NFL scout, because I think it's exactly where the family comes from on this, is talking about he's had 2 starts, and that the family's just not going to operate that way. And this is the reason I've been we're still talking about the guy that has 2 starts, right? He's big, he has a strong arm. I love flexibility. He's throwing ocean, and he can move much better as uncles did. But he's very raw. Last year, the game was way too fast for him when he got in against Georgia and looked overwhelmed. And I'm not saying, okay, that's the quote I'm talking about. The quote, though, leads you to why he's going to play 2 years of college football as a starter. Yeah. They're not rushing this process because it's not going to all be smooth in year 1 as a starter. And there's going to be a bad quarter, bad half, bad game. There are going to be multiple because he's an aggressive guy with ball in hand. But this guy's going to start 25-plus college games before he goes pro. He's not going pro with 17, 18 starts.
No.
There's no chance in this family.
Mm-mm. Yeah, they also say in this article, or at least reference in this article, that at one point Eli Manning and the Manning family tried to control where he was drafted. And they said they don't rule that out with Arch Manning, that if they don't like who's at the top of that draft to draft Arch, that they may try to manipulate things behind the scenes, which they're the Mannings. They can do that.
Yeah.
Just straight up. Yeah. So interesting article. Go check it out. It was pretty good. They're pretty good breakdown there by Heather Dennis talking to NFL scouts about one Arch Manning. All right. Thank you guys for all of the questions. Great questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of them. I apologize. Chuck says Derrick Cooper reminds me of myself. He's athletic, faster, taller, more powerful than me. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that. All right. Before we get out of here, though, let me remind everybody that we are collaborating with our friends over at Third and Longhorn for the Texas tour. So coming up on the 19th, we're going to actually team up with our friends over at Third and Longhorn, and we are going to be at Schultz's Beer Garden on the 19th here in Austin. And then we're taking the tour on the road to Houston. After that, on the 20th of August, we're going to be at the Social Beer Garden in Houston. And on the 21st, we're going to go to Dallas and meet our folks there in Dallas at the Happiest Hour. You can RSVP for free, by the way, at thirdandlonghorn.com, or you can also purchase VIP passes there as well. So if you have some time, or you're going to be in the general area there and you'd like to meet the crew, the OTF family, or the Third and Longhorn family, we'd love to meet you. I'd love for you to come out and support us. So thank you guys. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate all that you do. Also, let me remind everyone this weekend, anything breaks, we got you covered. Go to OwenTexasFootball.com. And if you're not a member of OTF, not an OTF OG, member of the OTF family, now's the perfect time to do it, because you can do it for just $39.95. Get a year's access to ONTexasFootball.com for just $39.95. Remember to use that promo code OTFOG. And you'll get hooked up. You'll become an OTFOG yourself. And now it's the perfect time to do it because our coverage of the Longhorns is about to be better than ever because we're done with talking season. Now it's about actual football. All right. Thank you, Matthew. Matthew is a real MVP behind the scenes. We appreciate everything that he does. Thank you, Jeff, for all of your expertise. Jerry, appreciate all of your hard work as well. Thanks to all you guys for the super chats and all the questions. Thank you to Von Lane, vonlane.com. Use that code OTF25. You'll save $20 off your first ride with Von Lane. And thank you as well to our friends at Hard Grove Roofing, hardgroveroofing.com. For Jerry and for Jeff and for Matthew, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.